rack together and then put that rack on the roof of the car. Let's see what's first. Welcome to part 2 of installing my FrontRunner Slimline 2. Is it called a Slimline 2? Super excited about this rack. I'm gonna take this right here, it looks like, and I'm going to basically join them. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to take this, the front piece right here, and I'm going to hook up the side rails that we just built to it. And then I think the next step here is to start hooking up the cross slot things. And then we'll probably fit this side on at that point. I'm just gonna interrupt everything and say this right now. Going through the process of putting this together, one of the reasons why I bought the K9 Easy On rack was because the rack comes in one piece. I think I mentioned this yesterday or the day before. The concept and idea of having to put something together that would probably just, you know, rattle loose or something over time, it just seemed like that was one of the reasons why I picked the K9 rack. The K9 rack, very sturdy, everything held up very well. This one, it just has these nylock nuts that bolts that fasten in here, and with all the feet that there are on the K9 rack and all the bolts for the feet and everything else, there's probably just as many bolts on that rack that could come loose as there are on this. The engineering and the way everything is secure and kind of the thoughtfulness in how it was engineered and put together, really well thought out. But I gotta say, I'm really impressed. Next on the agenda here is to flip it over, and we're gonna put the corner brackets on. They're also, the corner brackets on the K9 rack, they were plastic, which was fine. It never mattered, but these are actually metal, and it feels tough. It really is so smooth and nice. Don't you just love new things? You wanna know what's better than new things though? It's new things that get old but wear beautifully. I think Steve Jobs said something like that. Next step is to install these wind deflectors. I'm not exactly sure. I think they go like this. Nope. As a side note, I'm actually super excited to see how this handles in the wind. Sorry if my mouth's full, I'm eating a Twizzler, because I love Twizzlers. I'm not gonna say the K9 rack was especially noisy, but with the light on there and other stuff, it really was kind of noisy. I'm really excited to see how this one is. I'm excited to see the noise level of this new rack. Oh, I get to flip this thing over again. I don't think that there's a front or back. Is this really bright? This is really bright. Sorry about that. I don't think there's a front or back. Okay, so the way the wind deflector is going to go is it's going to go basically $7 3/4. Okay, so one of the things that's kind of exciting to me about the fact that I'm just now freshly installing this rack is that, well, the light. So I have this don't quote me on this, but I think it's a 38 inch, but I could be wrong about that. But it's from Extreme LED light bars, which I've been really happy with. But it's got an amber, and then white, and then amber. So amber on either side is white. I've really liked it, but the nature of it, it's just a pain. It actually has nothing to do with the light, but it's a pain in the butt to install on the rack when the rack's on the vehicle. That's what I had to do in the old one, and it was just really difficult to get to. But I'm going to install the light on the rack before I put it on the vehicle, so I don't have to mess with it. It'll be a pain when I have to switch it around if I ever switch the light out, but it'll be what it'll be, I guess. Now I got to figure out exactly how I'm going to put it on, because so I had this this bar I got from either Rigid or Baja Designs or something, but anyway, it's like a universal bar, and so I basically connected the light bar to this bar using a bushing with for some space to get it to mount under the other rack. But I don't think I'm going to need that with this, because I think this will hook right into this channel right here. I just don't know if it's going to interfere with this. I may have to move the wind deflectors back to the next thing, which I don't know if that really makes, I don't know if that matters or not. But I'll tell you, if there's one thing that is super cool that's come out of this whole deal, is the fact that I now have an impact drill. I've always been meaning to buy one, but I just been putting it off. And the fact that I got such a great deal. I got like an extra drill, and I got like a cool flashlight, and I got this cool thing right here. This little like quick load thingamajigger. And then the best part about all this, and I know you're gonna think this is super lame, but I've never had one of these and I always wanted one. It's this thing right here. This little piece right here that I can hook onto my drill, and I can put a socket on, which is huge, because, you know, who wants to use a socket wrench for everything you got to do when you can just... It's important to stay hydrated. Hardware. So anytime I ever change anything out on any one of my racks, I guess now I have had multiple racks technically, but anytime I change anything out or do anything new, I just go ahead and replace the hardware. The stainless steel bolts and nylock nuts, they're great, and they kind of last forever, you know, if you put them up there. I don't know that I've had any problems with them, but once I undo them, unless I like just put them on, and sometimes even not even then, but once I undo them, I usually won't put them back on. Especially been up there for a few months, I'm gonna just completely replace them. I have quite a bit of hardware, and so I'm gonna see if I can find some new, I think I have some new nuts. But anyway, I need 2 new nylock nuts, M8, and then 2 new stainless steel bolts, short ones. All right, my friends, that is on there. Yes. Yes, sir, that is on there. Is it bright again? Now you may have noticed this little like rubber piece thing in there. That is there because, well, when I put the light on the first time with the old rack, it whistled. It made a ton of noise. But when I put this on there, it really helped. But it was so snug between here and the front of the other rack that I actually couldn't aim the light the way I wanted it to be aimed. So I'm gonna do some preliminary aiming right now, and I guess we'll have to see if we can adjust it when we get it on, because the problem is this little thing, it does offer some resistance there, so we'll have to see if I can get it turned. I may not actually need it, or I may be able to do something different. We'll see. Okay, I think it's time. I think it's time to put this thing on. Wait, let me see something. So it would appear that I need to go ahead and get bolts into this slot right here, because I've got an obstruction here. if I don't do it right now, it's gonna be a pain in the butt to do it when I get up there because I need to have bolts right here and here, and this stuff is in the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and handle that real quick. Okay, so I got these bolts put in here. They're in place. I'm not gonna put the other bolts where they go. I believe it's these two and then maybe perhaps the back two. I'm not gonna put them in place just yet because I don't want them to slide around and fall out. These guys are not going to slide around and fall out when I'm moving this thing. I've got some towels up on the roof, and I'm gonna just literally flip this thing around and heft it up there. And the towels on the roof I'm gonna use to just kind of slowly slide it across. I think it's probably gonna be better to do it that way anyway than to try and like finagle with a second person, because the second person, I guess we could come from the back and bring it up. But you'd still have, and if it was my wife, she's too short. I get this. Let's do it. All right, I checked and double checked. All the bolts are tightened. I'm gonna go check that side real quick actually, but just to make sure nothing kind of came loose. All right, I just need to put these little thingies on and plug in my light, zip tie the cable, plug the light on in the back, and then I'll be done. I'm gonna mount the solar panel, but not tonight. I'm gonna run the cables up for that. I may have to remount the mounts for the solar panel to fit on the rail. I'm not really sure yet, but that's not going to happen today. Quick update, we mounted the solar panel. I also mounted everything else. I mounted the max tracks right here, and I mounted my FrontRunner boxes, mounted my FrontRunner boxes. Plus, FrontRunner I got, along with the rack, I got a high lift mount thing that holds the high lift mount together, or the high lift mount on. Let me say, this thing is rock solid. And then I got a shovel mount over there. Ran all the wiring underneath there. I'm not sure if you can see it. And I have the wiring you can see under there. And basically, it's not pretty, but I just used, you know, zip ties to kind of hold the wires in place. If you have another suggestion for how to handle that, let me know. The way the solar panel mounted, which is it was really cool. So these mounts, had these mounts on the sides here for the other rack. These, I just put them here. The solar panel, it fits perfectly within the width of the rack here, which is awesome. And so I just ran the bolts. The other thing I really like about the FrontRunner rack is that these side channels here, well, firstly, if you want to put a bolt down in here and have the nut down in there, you don't have to remove this corner piece right here. You can just slide it in right here. I'm not sure if you can see that hole. If you do need to run a bolt down here, you do need to remove the corner piece here, which it's like one screw, it's very easy. But what I was going to say is that these side channels are M8 size. With the K9 rack, they're M6. They're a little dinky, if you ask me. These are the M8. It's really sturdy, which is really cool because in applications like mounting the high lift jack, you know, these are really heavy, you know, and on the K9 rack, you had a lot of the weight kind of being supported by a really dinky thin channel here. Some of the weight was up here on the thick rails, but a lot of the weight was really coming here. This high lift mount, it's got a huge, nice, good, sturdy piece of metal here, huge, good, sturdy mounting bracket here, and then, you know, obviously it's got the M8 bolts. It's really on there. I'm really happy with the hardware here. The high lift, the max tracks, I just used these pens. Some guy made these for me, goo.gl Designs or something. It's anodized aluminum with just the regular max tracks pens. The FrontRunner application for that, they just give you bolts with these, you know, these loop screw thingamajiggers. I don't really like that. It's takes a lot more time to because you got to unscrew 4. This, you just pop the max tracks off. It's very easy. And then basically with the boxes, I hard mounted them by sliding bolts in here and drilled 4 holes in the bottom of the box, used just like a rubber washer thing to hard mount them. That's how I had it on the other rack, and it lived up there just fine for a long time. So never had any issues. I don't think I've ever talked about what I keep in these boxes. So in this box right here, I keep the my ARB compressor, and then just like a recovery strap. And in that box over there, I keep like recovery gear, like chains and snatch block and winch stuff, like winch accessories. I keep it in there because I want to keep that stuff with me at all times in case I ever am in a situation where I might need it. Not like I just like to keep that stuff with me at all times. And I know a lot of people don't like to have the weight up above, but I hated it being in my vehicle all the time, and up here it's out of the way. Yes, it's a little bit noisy, but it's with me all the time and it's out of the way. And the shovel mount is really cool. It's just these straps, so you can actually use these like ratchet straps. They just mount really, really well onto here. You see in this, the rubber part and the bottom buckle part are actually part of the bolt. So it's not part of here, it's actually part of the whole assembly. So it's really, really sturdy. And the thing that I like about that is that you can keep a shovel or an axe or whatever you want. And so you can see where I did my solar panel cables. You guys gave me a pretty hard time for sticking them to the roof before, so I didn't do that this time. I did run it along the rack, and I just have these things in place just to kind of keep the cables in place. And then I got my orange amber light there. And then what I ended up doing with my Extreme LED light bar, dual amber white light bar, I think it's 38 inch. I've talked to some other people who have asked me if I thought a larger size would fit in there. I don't, not from what they offer. Obviously there's a lot of other light bar options out there. I happen to have this one. I've been really happy with it. It is a budget light. If you want to spend like $1 million on lights, there's lots of light options out there. But I don't really know the difference between something like this, which is a little bit less expensive than like some of the other more expensive lights out there. But I mean, I have been happy with it. I genuinely have been happy. I've had no issues with it. I think it looks good. I've had just no issues with it. I think it's been a quality light. What I ended up doing though is it did whistle. So after I had it mounted on the rack, it whistled. But what I ended up doing is it wasn't really aimed the way I wanted it to be aimed. So I loosened up the bolts. I aimed it up just a little bit higher because I really like it to project out, like as far as I can get it to project out. And when I did that, it didn't whistle anymore. The gap in between the light and the rack, it's very, very, very tiny. And so I've been really happy with it. And as you can see, I have finally replaced the wheels. I've got the Icon alloys on there, and to be completely upfront with you, I didn't really like the look at first, but as I've kind of had them on for now almost 2 weeks, I actually love the look now. I hope you really like the look. I know it's a departure from the factory look. I was very apprehensive of doing that. I still really, really like the factory look of the wheels, of the factory wheels, the look of the factory wheels, but I really, really like this new look. I still have some kinks to work out in terms of like there's some noise, there's some rattling. The high lift jack, it makes quite a bit of noise because, you know, it's like metal on metal and it rattles around. I've got a solution for that. I just haven't had time to tweak it yet. But all in all, I just got back from just a quick trip down to Turtleback to get the new Icon suspension on the Turtleback trailer. Video coming soon. By the way, it's freaking awesome. And I spent 2 nights on the trail, 1 night on the way down there and 1 night on the way back down in Grand Staircase Escalante. I think that's, yeah, Grand Staircase Escalante. And we had a lot of bumping around, and this rack has held up great. I haven't had it long enough to really tell you that this is like the best quality rack I've ever seen. But so far, it's the best quality rack I've ever seen. I am extremely happy with it. Thank you for FrontRunner for working with me. Thank you for watching. I really, really appreciate your support. Make sure you're subscribed by clicking the subscribe button down below. Make sure you like it, make sure you share with your friends, and make sure you leave a comment and just engage with us as a community. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time, guys.